you're disrespecting God.
Wow.
You are disrespecting God because you are not using God's given ability for you to progress and transform. That's the fucking bottom line. If you as a man, if you're good getting up every morning and doing the same crap, staying the same way year after year, day after year, day after day, and all that kind of stuff, what are you doing? You're not using God's given tool. You might as well become an animal.
Powerful. When did you get it?
I got that Rolls Royce 2 years ago.
Why did you get it?
Well, you know, for me, Rolls Royce represents the best money. No, money is not an object.
Right.
Right? So if you look at the Rolls Royce, if you just look at the material, when you look at the fit and finish, I mean, even you look at the carpet, it's mink. So with Rolls Royce, they didn't cut corners at all, no matter what. They went all out. When you drive a Rolls Royce and then you drive a Mercedes, as good of a Mercedes is, it feels like a tin can. You know?
When you experience the difference, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
There was one time my mom has a Mercedes, and I bought my mom a Mercedes. Matter of fact, a cool story I can relate to you is my mom's car broke down when I was 13 in the middle of Oklahoma at 10 o'clock at night at a gas station. And my mom looked literally defeated, and there was no mechanics open. The people at the gas station, they were gracious enough to have us stay there overnight or their house. And I looked at my mom and I told her I was 12 or 13 years old. I said, Mom, one day when I grow up, I'm gonna buy you a Mercedes, don't worry. So 3 years ago, for Christmas, I delivered her a Mercedes.
Wow.
You know, and that's the whole story. So with that being said, you know, she has a Mercedes, and one time I got out and getting out in her car, I'm driving her car, I'm like, why is the window down? You know, because I felt like wind noise and, you know, I felt like this, but it wasn't. It was just going from that car to that car. It felt like, you know, because you're so insulated in there, you're so quiet. It's just such a different ride.
Wow, gotcha. There was actually an experience where last year I came up on some money and I said, you know what, I want to go rent me one just so I can try it out. And I couldn't rent it because of my age.
Oh, God, yeah, but they probably thought you one of those immature, you know, 20-year-olds, you know, 20-some-year-olds that want to go out there and do that.
23 years old, they're like, you got to be 25 to even think about it.
I didn't even know that. See, here's what I like about it. Like everything with this car, if you look at all the details, you know, you see that the double R's on the rims. Right. They always stay in that position, so they don't roll. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I roll the car forward, the double R stays there.
There's some mechanic in there that allows it to stay.
Right.
Vertical.
Everything from the spirit of ecstasy. Everything in this car has been thought out for, detailed. It's just so much that goes into this car.
How much is this when you purchased it? How much is this car?
The sticker on this car is $410,000.
$410,000.
So this is the limited edition called the Black Badge.
So, you know, for the viewers that are watching from all over the world, you know, I know of some investment properties in Jacksonville, Florida, for example.
Right.
And they're $40,000 for an actual home. Yeah. So you can actually buy 10 homes with this car. What is the mindset, and what do you have to say to someone who says, why, Sam? Why? Yeah. When you could buy 10 homes and feed so many people, why buy a car?
Look, you know, it's not about, you know, that. Look, at a certain point, you know, I donate over $500,000 in charities. You know, I pay over a couple $1 million in taxes. You know, I do my charity work. It's not like, okay, I'm just going to give it and not give back, right? You know, but at a certain time, you got to like really achieve what you desirely want, right? Because here it comes down to this. If you don't achieve what you personally want, then you kind of feel resentment towards other people. You know, you got to kind of make your inside happy. It's not about that. Like for me, I achieved it now. This is something I always wanted, right? Let me tell you something really quick. There was a period where, whole 2008 happened, right? And the whole economy hit. I mean, you know, I almost lost it all, right? I wasn't prepared. Nobody taught me about economy. Nobody taught me about ups and downs in it. And when that happened, it kind of put me in such a defensive position where when I started making money, I was driving a company car, and I didn't even buy a car. I drove a Scion XB, wrapped.
Yeah.
For, from 2008 to 2016. I drove that for like 8 years.
So recently?
Yeah, recently. Yeah.
Over the last 2 years?
Yeah. So recently, I drove it. Even though I could buy whatever car I want, I resisted. But honestly, a part of me inside was dying because I'm like, well, ever since I was a little kid, this is what I like. I like cars. Whatever since I was a little kid. If I was 4, 5, 8, 10 years old, if you came here right now, you would have seen me outside with playing my little cars and playing my remote control car. That's what you would have saw. So for me to put that aside and say, hey, I'm grown up, man, I don't need that.
Right.
Is you're kind of working against your DNA. So I remember I was driving my Scion XB, even though I could afford any car I want. I was looking at people driving the car. I was like literally salivating again. I'm like, man, I want one. Then I found out, I'm like, look, man, as long as I'm doing things correctly, I'm giving to my kids, I'm giving to my college funds for my kids, my house is paid off, everything is done, I'm good. I'm good. So now I can be able to do something.
Enjoy.
You got to internally, if you're internally not happy, this is, for some people, this is flash. Oh, let me show off what I got.
Right.
Honestly, I could care less what anybody thinks about me. The only person that I want to impress is my family and the man above. That's the only person that really matters to me. But I'm a car enthusiast.
Right.
I'm a car enthusiast. Ever since I was a little kid, if you brought a clean Volkswagen Bug right now, I'll be salivating over it. You know what I mean? It's not about the price. It's not about thing. I'm a car enthusiast. I can, a 67 Camaro, I'll be salivating over it. You know what I mean? I'm a car enthusiast. So for me not to fulfill what I truly want in life is that. Believe me, my house, my old house that I moved in to Pennsylvania with my uncle, that's a $30,000 home.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean.
Right. So and so in the car you were talking about even the carpet. Let's take a look at the carpet, and not just the carpet, but the actual interior. Why black and red?
Because I wanted to be different. Have you ever seen a Rolls Royce black and red?
I have never seen that.
Because it's custom ordered.
Okay.
So most of them, you got my kids, all stuff here. I know you guys were coming, so I would have just at least got it clean. But look at see, this is mink. Touch that. Touch the mink.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's an amazing feeling.
So everything in this car is top notch. So they're gonna. It comes to a point in your life, like, look, what would I do? What would I build if money was no object?
And so this is what you would want.
That's what I would want.
And now, interestingly enough, this is very similar to the color scheme of your companies.
Yes. I like the black and red. I think black and red is sexy, and that's why I created the company Black and Red, and my car's black and red, and pretty much everything I own is that.
So for the people who are gonna, talk their stuff on social, is this one of those rented? Is this rented? Is this rented for the show?
Yeah, this is everything. Everything is rented. Everything's a show.
Yeah, everyone's going to hate, man. Everyone's going to hate.
You know what? You have to understand something. At a certain point, so everybody's going to say anything they want. I don't care if it's rented. Damn, it's a nice rented car. You know what I mean? Whatever it is. People are always going to say anything. I learned that. I don't really pay attention to that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not here to talk about anybody, and if you sit down and think about what everybody says and all that kind of stuff, I got better things to do. My job is to move my business forward, spend time with my family, and do what makes me happy.
That's what it's all about, what makes you happy.
Yes.
So let's take it for a ride.
Let's do it. Wow.
So now that you've created this through your businesses, what is next for you?
Man, as far as business or cars?
No, just as far as business, life, and in general. I know your wife is pregnant right now.
Yeah. For me, it's just, next for me is to be able to streamline my work and honestly spend as much time with the family as possible.
Okay.
One thing that I have to do to progress is to start delegating more and more, and just work more on big picture stuff and spend more quality family time.
Okay, gotcha. So your family is important to you.
That's my main. That's my main thing. Family and God.
Now, earlier you shared that your dad wasn't in your life.
Never.
How has that impacted you as a father?
Oh my God! It has almost given me a complex to be the best father possible. You can go this way. Probably is better. Become the best father that I can possibly be. When you are brought up a certain way, there's only two things that can happen. You're either going to exactly follow the same path, or you're going to say, you know what, I want to be opposite. And for me, unfortunately, it was the opposite. When I didn't have a dad, I told myself, once I have kids, that I want to become the best father provider that I can.
Okay.
And I want to be able to really, really cherish every single moment. Not having a dad was kind of hard on me because when I went to Thanksgiving and Christmas to everybody else's home, I didn't have the same kind of home they had. I wasn't getting the same kind of gifts. It was kind of tough. I always wish, oh my God, man, I wish I had a dad. I wish I had a dad, or I wish I had somebody, to provide for us and be for us and all that kind of stuff. So I never had a male figure in my life.
How many kids do you have now?
I have 2 daughters and 2 sons on the way, God willing.
Wow, 2 daughters already, and 2 little boys coming.
2 little boys on the way.
And so you made it a mission in your life to be present in their life.
I have to. God. I don't even know why would there be an option not to.
Right.
Honestly, I don't understand how, as a parent, you wouldn't want to be in your kid's life.
Correct.
That to me, they're my heartbeat. They're everything to me.
So I've heard you bring up faith a few times. Mm-hmm. How has faith impacted you in your business and in your personal life?
Faith to me is going forward when you don't know what the outcome is going to be. It's kind of like jumping off the building knowing that you're going to be okay. And in life, I don't care what religion you are, I'm not going to preach religion, and I'm a very novice at religion. But here's what I will tell you. I will tell you that that you have to believe in a higher power than yourself here on this earth. So you have to believe in that, and because of that, you have to do good work. You have to say, man, God has I'm here put on this earth for just more than just serving myself. And once you understand that, that's when you start making better decisions for your life.
What is your routine when it comes to faith?
Well,
is it like church on Wednesday, or is it, church on Sunday, or, what does it look like?
For me, when I'm looking at the whole overall picture, my whole thought on faith is, you're not a so-called faith person, person of faith if you're just going Wednesdays or on the weekend or on the Sunday and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't make you a person of faith. A person of faith is something that you do every single day. You walk it, you talk it, you be it. Just because you go to church Sunday or you show up on Wednesday, that doesn't make you a person of faith. That shows some commitment to it. For me, faith is every second of every day.
Gotcha.
You got to walk it, talk it. But as far as that's concerned, I think I commit to going to church every Sunday. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've gone to churches many times and just fell asleep.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? For me, I can't go to a church where, since I'm such a novice person at Jesus and God, I can't go to a church and next thing you know, they go right out of the Old Testament and just read it. I will fall asleep.
Were you raised Catholic?
No, I was born as a Muslim.
Muslim?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Iranian. Okay. So my mom later on became a Christian, and my mom later on was speaking to, even though my family was born a Muslim, none of them really practiced. They were just Muslims.
They had the name.
They had the name.
Okay.
They all drank and gambled and do all that kind of stuff. It was like a no-no in the Muslim world, right? But my mom became a Christian, and they started taking me to church, and I just thought church was the most boring thing because
Gotcha.
Went over there. But as I got older, I wanted to become closer to God, and I wanted to find a church that I could relate to, that can talk to me in a way that I can understand and I can apply every day. Not something that is out of Old Testament, I will fall asleep.
Right.
You know, so after years of going to, you know, different churches, I found a church that I can really relate to and really take a message and apply it to today's world. And, you know.
How do you use that in your company and in your leadership, what you've learned in your faith, in your company and in your leadership? I
mean, look, if you really look at some of the leadership books, some of the top leadership books, it's almost, the Bible teaches the same thing, the same principles.
Which is?
You know.
Which out of all the principles, which to you means the most?
You know, believing in something greater than yourself.
Okay.
You know, I mean, look, everybody's always, in this day and age, everything is self-serving. Mm-hmm. And one thing I've learned in life is this: the more people you help, the more you serve, the more God will bless you. I can't tell you how much that has meant and has done in my life. You can do a U-turn here.
Right.
So having said that, man, I mean, that has been the key cornerstone of my success, is really getting down and really coming from a good place and helping people.
Okay.
You know?
And so back to the first question, the last question, your routine in your faith. What does that look like? How often, when, to give others a perspective as to something that they could follow?
I go to church 10:30 in the morning every Sunday.
Okay.
You know, and I have my pastor's phone number.
Okay.
And I text them if I really need extra help. I get on the phone with them if I need to run something by them. That's my faith. You know.
So relationship driven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. Now, something that we were talking about earlier today, and you brought up the time, 10:30 a.m. How important is routines and habits in your life and in success?
It's everything. I mean, you know, you gotta build habits for you to be able to be successful. You have to build what I call success habits. And success habits is easily formed by you committing to a certain thing at a certain time on a daily, weekly, monthly, or whatever yearly basis. Once you do that, it becomes a part of you and it becomes part of your DNA, is embedded in you. You know, good habits will make you great, and unfortunately bad habits will compound to disaster.
Okay.
And so, for example, we were talking earlier, I know I need a car wash every week. Right? So rather than, you know, thinking about it, oh my God, so what day am I going to do it every week? What time am I going to do it every week? I'm like, hey, what can I commit to? What day and time can I commit to car washes? And who can I count on coming and doing it for me? So, for example, my car wash guy knows that 7:30 every Friday is car wash time. Okay. I know it on time, so I don't have to think about it. I don't have to make another decision. It automatically happens. I know I need a haircut. What time is my haircut every week? It's at 6 a.m. on Fridays every week. That doesn't change. You know, I know my workout is 4 a.m. every single day. That doesn't change. You know, I know, for example.
So what's the whole week? Take me through Sunday through Saturday as far as routines. Was this it?
No, keep going straight.
Take me to Sunday as far as, and Saturday as far as your routine.
So my routine is, you know, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I come downstairs. I take my little pre-workout shake. I read my goals. I go over the book. I go over my goals. Go over my, you know, what I'm going to do that day. I hit the gym. I come home. I have a nice breakfast.
And what time is breakfast?
Breakfast at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock every morning.
Every morning. You know, I get to work about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then from then on, I have my meetings for the staff. You know, I have, you know, appointments that I need to do, and I work till 4 o'clock.
Okay.
That's all, everything that's work related. You know, some meetings that I have at work, they're recurring. So, for example, Monday morning at 9 a.m., I have a staff meeting that we're going to talk about what we have planned for the week, what we're going to do.
Okay.
Right? Once comes 4 o'clock, that's family time.
Mandatory.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Mandatory, okay.
Automatically open.
Now, is there ever a time, you know, like nowadays, man, it's on social media, it's talking about hustle. Mm-hmm. Is there ever a time where, man, you got to pass the 4 o'clock?
Well, you know, Rarely ever.
Okay.
You know, but I'm very conscious that I have to spend time with the family.
But in this current stage, so what about, let's say, for example, if you're coaching me and I'm at the stage where I would say I'm 3 years in or 2 years in, I'm still a young buck. Should I have a similar routine to you? Very,
very, very, very good question. No.
Okay.
I've earned it.
You've earned it, gotcha.
I've earned it. So, you know, there was a time when I started blowing up the camp, when I started really, really scaling the business. Believe it or not, I came out of adversity too. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I told you
the camp is a fitness nutrition. It's a fitness.
It's my fitness franchise that we have on 110 locations. We're international. So let me tell you. So I told you everything in my life was somehow God pushed me to it. I didn't want to go there, right? So, you know, I was married before, and, you know, we went through a really hard time with the economy and everything. I was just starting to, you know, turn things around, and then I came home and I got served with divorce papers.
You got served with divorce? Out of nowhere?
Out of nowhere. You know, we got in a big fight, and I got served with divorce papers, and I got kicked out of my own home. And I literally packed a couple of my things and went to a hotel called Hotel Chino Hills off of 71 freeway here, and literally just sat down there and started crying, you know. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going on. And I literally sat there, and I said, what I'm going to do. This was 5 years ago. And I said, okay, now I'm 40 years old. I was basically, you know, my house was on foreclosure, you know, and I'm literally almost lost everything. I just started turning it around, and now I got hit with this. God, what are you doing this to me? You know, and so I sat down. I'm like, Sam, what are you going to do now? You know, you lost your family. You know, now your kid's going to grow up without a dad. You know, all the stuff that I didn't want.
Right.
You know what I mean? The stuff that I didn't want. You know, I literally was going to do. I'm like, okay, now what are you going to do? You're going to go like do what your other friends have done in the past when they got divorced, or go to the clubs and start drinking and start chasing women and doing stupid stuff? Or what do you want out of your life? And I said, you know what? My top priority came down to I want to spend as much time with my children. When I'm not spending much time, I want to be able to provide a legacy and a living for them. So when you become crystal clear on your mission in life and what you want to do, then decision making becomes very easy, right? So since basically I can only see my children on Wednesday nights and on the weekends, then that means if I'm not with my children, what's my second option? Work.
Work, okay.
Right? Provide for them. So all I did for 4 years was spend time with the kids and work. I literally would work. I would work 24/7. I would fall asleep with the laptop in my chest, like you were telling me. I remember being in a hotel room, laptop in my chest, you know, working. And that's how I started really blowing the business up, blowing the things up. Because had I not been in that position, I probably didn't work as hard, and I would never have been here. Now, fast forward, I made a multi-million-dollar company, international franchise. In that 5 years. In that 5 years.
And how many millions for perspective?
Right now, the company is valued at $52 million, you know, and it's growing rapidly, you know, and that's the span of 5 years. So now that I'm remarried to my soulmate, you know, and now I'm like, all right, well, I need to make sure now that I have a relationship, be able to nurture a relationship, nurture my children, and so now that's why we're here.
Gotcha.
So if you are a single man, you know, and I'll tell you, you know, keep working.
Keep working.
Keep working.
So what should the single man or the single woman be doing? You know, they can't have the same routine that you have. And I think that's like one of the false positives about asking, you know, millionaires, hey, what's your routine look like? Because you're already established.
I earned it.
Right.
I've earned it. But the way I earned it was to work around the clock. And to this day, look, what day? It's Saturday, right? You know, most people say, no, I don't want to do an interview Saturday. I don't want to do anything Saturday. I want to do anything like that. But I want to do this. You know, I'm taking the time to do this. I want to do this. I respect you. I want to do this. You know, I could have easily just said, no, I'm going to do another time or anything like that. But for me, it's hard. Let me tell you, let me just put it. I love what I do. I love work. So for me to stop it, that's a discipline. I'm exercising my discipline.
Of stopping.
Of stopping, because I'd rather work.
Gotcha.
I'd rather work. You know, my wife a lot of times gets on me like, Sam, you know, this morning I got up at 4 a.m., went to the gym. Sam, she was like, even on the weekends, can you just sleep in one day? I'm like, that's just my routine. That's how I've been bred myself all through the years. Now, like I said, if you are single, if your main focus right now, you know, your main focus is to building your company, then build your company. Every second you're not working on it, you're wasting. You know, so don't tell me you want to become a millionaire, but then every weekend you're out there boomeranging, excuse my language, but it's boomeranging your fucking shots. You know what I mean? You know, you can't be out there, I'm having a drink, I'm having a drink. Excuse my language, what the fuck are you celebrating? You haven't achieved anything yet. You set a goal and you're coming up short. Until you know, once you put a goal together and then celebrate once you reach the goal, until then, shut the fuck up and work. You know what I mean? And I want people to understand that's the kind of mentality that I have to have. You know, right now I can retire and never work again. I work because I want to, not because I need to. Because that's my DNA. I don't understand with some of these new people on the block. Yeah, you have to have balance. You have to earn balance.
Sure.
You have to earn balance. If you want to be balanced, you have to go through a period of unbalance to earn being balanced. You know. Here's what. Let me give you an analogy. You know, I'm in the fitness industry, right? Yeah. I got people coming in that for years they neglected their health. For years, all they ate is McDonald's, chips, you know, fries, you know, just ate bad all year, sat on the couch, didn't do shit, right? And then all of a sudden, now they're 100 pounds overweight, their health is in jeopardy. And now they have their relatives say, well, don't go to the gym every day. You have to be balanced. You have to be balanced. You didn't tell that person to be balanced when they were shoveling shit in their mouth every single day for the past 10 years. But now they start walking every day. You have to slow down a little bit, right? You know, Tony Robbins talk about it. It's called full immersion.
Full immersion.
If you're going to do something, go all in. Do go all in. If you're 100 pounds overweight, okay, go all in. No, well, let me just start a little bit and then that's not going to motivate you. Commit to it. Go all in. Go all in and do whatever you can to be able to get that weight off and become healthy. If you are broke right now, don't be like, oh, well, I want to work 8 hours and I'm going to be able to be balanced and be able to balance. No, go all in. Go all in.
Well, how do you go all in? Like, say for example, you got the weight loss or weight gain, and then you have the work, and then you have the family, but you're still in the beginning. How can you go all in on all of them?
You can. Look, you sit down and you just prioritize what you want to do. You assign a time to it, and you stay focused on that time, and you protect that. One of my mentors said, you have to protect your time. You protect your children. And it never is more true, because look, as much as I love everyone here, if I had to choose to be with you or with my children, I will be with my children 100 times out of 100 times. Mm-hmm. So every time I'm wasting, I'm taking away from that. So every time you're wasting from your goal, you're taking away from that. You'll be surprised if you are ruthless with your time management, how much you can get done. The problem is that people get distracted. The problem is that people don't fully commit. And if you just put a system together, hey, look, you wanna lose 100 pounds, commit to 2 hours of exercise in a day. Why a half an hour? Why a half hour 3 times a week? Well, I can't do it at this time. Get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. Do it at 4 o'clock. Nobody's bothering you then. I've done it. I don't have to lose 100 pounds. Just come in and get it done. The worst thing you can do, the worst thing you can do is to say you're going to do something and don't follow through with it. You know what that does to your self-esteem?
What does that do?
Every time you make a promise to yourself and you don't follow through, you're just basically telling yourself that your word is not good enough. And that's a big blow to your self-esteem. You're basically telling yourself that you're not going to follow through. You're not going to follow through with anything. It's okay not to follow through. That's why if I make a promise to myself or somebody, to myself is more important. Honestly, the worst person that you can disappoint is yourself. Because when you disappoint yourself, your self-esteem goes down. So if I tell myself, tomorrow, here's what I'm going to do, and I don't do it, that becomes a habit. It's okay for me to say I'm going to do something, I'm not going to do it. So there's times that I said, yeah, I'm going to work out tomorrow at 4 a.m. And something comes up, I ain't go to bed till 1. I still show up at 4.
Gotcha. That was my next question. But
I still show up at 4 because I told myself I'm going to do it. I might be a zombie. I might not have a great workout. I might not, but I'll show up. I do whatever I can. Then I come back home and go to sleep. But if I said I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it because I want to make sure I tell myself it's not okay to go back on my word to myself. There's a book by Shad Hamster. It's called What to Say to Yourself When You're Talking to Yourself. It's the most profound book. Because the conversation that you're having inside with yourself is so important in your overall achievement or overall success. And if you keep putting yourself down, and if you keep promising yourself stuff that you don't follow through, then it's going to be a long road for you.
So what have you said to yourself that you're going to accomplish in the next few years?
Okay.
That the audience can expect from you?
Okay. So I told myself by the time I retire, which is 5/1/2023. That's when I'm retiring. That doesn't mean I'm not going to work. That's when I'm retiring, right? I'm going to have 500 locations.
500?
Yes.
So you got to open up 490 in the next 2.5 years.
I'm going to open up 390 because I have 110 now.
Oh, okay.
So 390 because I know the numbers. I already know the numbers, right? I'm going to be a Santa millionaire.
Santa is how many?
100 million. I'm going to be worth 100 million. And that's my main thing as far as finances are concerned. You know, I'm going to make 1% nutrition a 9-figure company. Those are what you can expect from me in 5/1, before 5/1/2023. Now let me if you go to my office, I'll show you right now when we go to my office. There's a check written to me for 5/1/2023 that is on my computer. It says 100 million. Funny enough, I made a check to myself 5 years ago for 1 million. 5 years ago was the first time that I saw $1 million in my account. Just 1 million.
You wrote it 5 years ago?
No, I wrote it. I cashed it 5 years ago.
You cashed it 5 years ago?
Yeah. So
when did you write the check?
I would say 8-9 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So 4 years before I became a millionaire, I wrote a check, and it was like 2013 or 14 on my birthday. It says 5/1/2013 or something like 2014, and it was for $1 million, and I didn't know how I was going to get that, but I wrote it, right? And I looked at it every day. It was on my refrigerator at the time. It was on my refrigerator. And even when I moved out of my little apartment, it was on my little apartment refrigerator. And I looked at it, and I cashed it before that. I actually went to the bank and cashed it. And here's the funny thing I didn't know. They won't give you $1 million in cash.
Why?
If you go to the bank and you say you want to take $1 million, they won't give it to you.
They don't even have it at
they don't even have 50,000. You have to order it.
Right.
But even $1 million, they won't give you $1 million at a time. They'll give you 100,000 at a time. You have to go back 10 times. And every time you go back, you have to sign a waiver that if you get mugged or killed or shot, carrying this out of the bank, they're not responsible.
Wow.
I didn't know that. There was one time that I took a couple of my employees, just to motivate them. Hey, I'm going to take 100,000 out. Let me show you. And they actually pulled me to the side. Hey, sir, are you getting mugged? Are they with you? Are you okay? They thought that I was doing that. So my goal was just to see what $1 million looked like. So I took $1 million in cash. I put it in a bag. Took a picture of it. Sent it to all my friends. Everybody says, I want to be a millionaire. And said, here, look, $1 million is not even that much. It just filled a duffel bag. It wasn't like, I thought it would be like, it would be around like a whole room. It wasn't. $1 million worth of $100 bills is this
small,
big.
Okay.
Yeah, it's this big. And now when I'm looking at that check, $100 million, I'm looking at it like, man, I'm getting the same feeling when I did when I wrote the first $1 million. Man, God, that's a far stretch. That'd be great, but I don't know, man. That's a pretty far stretch.
You're still doubting yourself.
Absolutely. But here's what you have to do. On your goals, you have to put a goal that stretches you.
Yeah.
I'm not doubting it. I'm stretched. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm stretched. You know, I'm going like this. I'm like, oh, that's a stretch. You know, when I did $1 million, I'm like, man, that's a stretch. And I got to $1 million. I said, baby, you know, Arturo made me a meme. When I was squatting, I was going like this. I was literally almost crying. And he goes, you know, he wrote a meme on my picture. When you make your first $1 million and found out it ain't shit.
Yo, you gotta give me that meme.
You know what I mean? Because I made the first $1 million. I'm like, for me, you know, growing up, you thought, yeah, $1 million is everything, right? Yeah. You know, my mom, I remember growing up, my mom said, this guy's a millionaire, this guy's a millionaire, this guy's a millionaire. And he grew up, he fucking making $1 million. I'm like, that ain't shit. I put $1 million just in upgrades in my house. Oh. You know what I mean? More than that, 1.5 in upgrades in the house. You know, fucking backyard was $700,000. You know what I mean? So you look at him like, God, man, $1 million really didn't take me much. Now what's next? What's next? What's next? You know what I mean? Then you want, okay, now let's make 10 million. Now let's 20 million, 50 million. Now my next goal is 100 million. You know, and that's what this, you know, stretch, you know, context changes. Yeah. I don't know if you ever watched that comedy skit with Chris Rock. Chris Rock is one of my favorite comedians, but he was talking about the difference between wealthy and rich. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we're talking about money is a context, right? He goes, look, Oprah, as wealthy as rich as she is, right? If Bill Gates opened up one day and looked at his bank account and wrongfully he thought his bank account was Oprah's bank account, and he saw Oprah's bank money, he goes, he'd probably like jump off a building and slash his throat on the way down because he was like, what the hell happened to me, right? And here's the thing. When I first started lifting, remember I told you when I went to the you know, all that kind of stuff. For me, it was like, okay, well, if I get to one plate on each side, I was a scrawny kid, 135, I'd be great. Then after that, let me do 185. Oh, let me do 2 plates, 225. Oh my God, if I do 275, 315, 365, 405. You know, you always want to go to the next. And then once you get there, anything less than that, it's just not good, right? Same thing comes with money. So
there's a pattern in your growth, and it all revolves around progression.
Progression is everything. Progression is everything. Look, for me, if you're staying the same, you're dying. Look, thank you for bringing that up. Because progression is transformation. Progression is transformation. I mean, look, the name of my business is called the Camp Transformation Center, right? The Camp, you know why I called it the Camp Transformation Center? Why? Because look, if you look at the fitness, the methodology of fitness comes and goes, right? One day yoga is hot, one day Pilates is hot, one day CrossFit is hot, one day this is hot, one day cycling. Right now cycling, soul cycle. Yeah. How many times are we going to get on the fucking bike and do the same thing, same music, right? You know, that ain't going nowhere, right? That ain't going nowhere, right? So with that being said, what is the thing that always stays constant? What is progression, transformation. Progression. What's the difference between my dog? What's the difference between my dog and us? What is it? Does the dog get up every morning and say, I want to progress? No. It just lives. It just lives, right? It's cool just getting the food. Yeah. And having somewhere to live and staying the same. The dog doesn't want to progress. The dog doesn't want to transform. See, you talk about progression, I call transformation, it's the same thing, right? As humans, the reason we're at the top of the food chain is the fact that we got the ability to get up every morning and say, I need to progress. I need to transform. I need to become better. And that's why, even though we can't beat the tiger and the elephants and the dinosaurs and the elephants and the lions, we can outsmart them, right? And if you, as a human, getting up every morning and doing the same shit as my dog, as the animal and the tiger, which means you're not progressing, you're disrespecting God. You are disrespecting God because you are not using God's given ability for you to progress and transform. That's the fucking bottom line. If you, as a man, if you're good getting up every morning and doing the same crap, staying the same way year after year, day after year, day after day, and all that kind of stuff, what are you doing? You're not using God's given tool. You might as well become an animal. Powerful. You know what I mean? And that's why I love your show. That's why I love what you do. You talk about progression, I talk about transformation, but it's the same thing. Your story,
your vision, your testimony, your message will bring people closer to God more than ever.
Thank you.
100%.
Appreciate that. And that's what I want, man. I want at this point, I want to be able to make a difference in people's lives. You know, if I can do it, come from my humble beginning, my humble background, if I can make a change in one person's life, you know, that's good enough for me. That's got to be the first book you read. So this is my humble office.
So we're in Sam's office.
And when you look, I have, even on Saturdays, you know, I print out my schedules. I print out my schedule, you know, weeks ahead of time. Like, it was Saturdays, Thursday.
The whole schedule is...
I have it all the time, the whole week. I have my schedule. I'll print it 1 week at a time. Even on Saturday, I have a schedule, what I'm going to be able to get done. And then I have what I call my checklist, what I need to do every single day, who I need to report to and talk to. So my goals for 2019.
How often do you write your goals?
I rewrite them probably every month, but I read them twice a day. 2019 goals, life goals. Here's my check.
And we'll make sure to blur out the numbers, but wow. So this is your company that's gonna pay you $100 million. Look at it, it doesn't even have enough places for the zeros.
I know, you see that?
And that'll be for your 50th birthday retirement. Powerful. I can't wait to celebrate that with you.
Let's do it.
I can't wait to celebrate that with you.
Cannot wait.
And so now we're gonna head over to your garage, and we're gonna end off this interview. And I wanted to say thank you, Sam.
Of course, man. Of course. That's my pleasure.
Access into your brain, into your experience, your home. Is your wife here?
Yes, my wife. I think she's putting baby cribs together.
So your wife you're about to have twins now.
Yes.
So talk to me about the fatherhood aspect and the business and merging the two together.
Man, you know, it's a fine balance, you know, but to me, the best thing that I can do for my children is not teach them, is show them.
Not teach them, but show them.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know, I can say and try to teach all I want, but the kids are going to learn from just seeing me do.
Gotcha.
So seeing the work ethic, seeing me getting up, seeing what I do.
Do you want your kids to be entrepreneurs?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's inevitable that they will be?
I don't know if it's inevitable that they're going to be, but one thing that I've done for my kids, so as soon as I became Papa Bear, one thing I did for them is to start a fund for them, you know, and I automatically put a certain amount of money into that account so that once they grow up, they have access to it. So they're able to, you know, invest it and to do business, whatever they want to do. Maybe if they want to go to higher education, if that's what they choose to do, they can do, right? But another thing I've done for them is I started a YouTube and a Instagram account for them. They both have their own YouTube and Instagram account, and I've been working on them, right? So I always ask everyone, I'm gonna ask you, what's better? If you had a kid right now, what would be better in this currency right now? Would $1 million be better to give a kid when they turn 25? Or would 1 million followers be better when they turn 25?
In this currency?
Hey, right now, yeah.
Well, personally, because of what I've been through, I would say $1 million.
Okay. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know would $1 million would be better or 1 million followers. I would say this. Now, if my daughter watches me and learns entrepreneurship and able to solve a problem for people and has 1 million people audience, you can potentially make more than $1 million that I'm going to give her.
Right.
All she needs to do is learn and solve a problem and have an audience. So the answer to that question is, I don't know which one is better.
You're going to give them both?
I'm going to give them both. You know, I'm going to give them both.
And,
you know?
And what I recognize that you're doing is you're giving them content of the experience before they even hear.
Absolutely.
So they can go to YouTube and watch, hey, this is what it was like before I was born.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. The other day I was, my daughter gets in a Range Rover. Goes, Daddy, do a video of me getting a Range Rover. I want to say something. So she gets in a Range Rover and she's like, well, let me tell you about the Range Rover. I like the Range Rover. You know, she did a little review of the car, right? Mm-hmm. And then I said, okay, good. She goes, no, Daddy, I messed up. I'd redo it again. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I forgot to say subscribe to my channel. And I'm going like, she's 9 years old, right? And let me tell you the funniest thing ever. Seeing two little girls fight over who got more followers.
Wow.
And like having a little argument. And, you know, my 5-year-old says, Daddy, I have 1 million followers. And my 9-year-old, she goes, no, you don't. You only have 21,300 followers. I have 27,000 followers. So I'm more popular than you. You know,
that's where this generation is going to. Gotcha.
Yes, it's so funny, man.
So you're actually investing because as you're investing, like when we do this show, hey, maybe in 10 years, your 9-year-old will be 19, and she can see, hey, this is what it looked like.
I want them to create their own economy.
Yeah.
I'm making I'm fertilizing everything for them so they have their own economy. I don't want them to rely on anybody or anything else. They have to make their own economy. You're making your own economy, you know, and in life, you have to have your own ecosystem. And I'm creating it down for them. Not only I'm going to be able to teach them, but I'm going to show them and put them in a favorable position to win, you know, to be able to do that. And that's why, you know, I'm investing time and effort for their accounts as well.
Right.
You know, and I want them to have an audience and be able to do that kind of stuff.
What is this? So what is the last few words that you want to share with the people that are viewing?
I'll tell them is this, man. I mean, we live in the greatest country in the world. You know, in this day and age, nothing is guaranteed. You know, when I was growing up, they told me, become a doctor, become a lawyer, become an engineer, and you're going to be rich and you're going to be good and all that kind of stuff. And I became a doctor. Nobody brought me any money. I was in $150,000 in student loans, a bunch of credit card debt, and almost had to file for bankruptcy. So now you have to create your own economy. And most importantly, here's what I always tell you. You have to love what you do. This, you know, every day I work around the clock, but I don't feel like I'm working. You know, I'm having fun. And you have to create the same thing for yourself. And at the end of the day, you know, do something that's going to fulfill you. You know, you have to, you know, at the end of the day, you have to be happy. You made a difference, and you're happy with yourself, and you're proud of yourself. Don't just do it for the money. Obviously, you have to pay your bills. You know what I mean? But are you really, really, truly fulfilled? Tony Robbins says, my favorite quote of all times, he says, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. You know, and success means, look, you know, imagine if you have success, you have all the cars, you have all the homes, you have all the clothes, you have everything, but you feel empty inside because you really haven't made a difference in society. Nobody can come say, hey, you know what, you changed my life. That's a very bad place to be. That means that, you know, you got to where you want to go, but you're still not happy inside. Happiness comes from giving and contribution. And if you're not contributing to the society, you're not contributing anything, and the only thing you ever done was self-serving, that sucks.
Powerful. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And that cuts it.
You know, I was born in Tehran, Iran, capital city. And when I was 3, we went to war with Iraq.
Oh, wow.
You know, Saddam Hussein, guy you might know, you know, was bombing on us, started bombing on us. Every night we hear the bombs and all that kind of stuff, you know, and, you know, planes flying over and you hear bomb, bam, 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 and you see anti-air missiles. It looked like Disneyland, but except it was war. Well, this one was my first watch, which I thought, my first, like, so-called nice watch, right? So this one is just a tag. But it was symbolic for me because when I first thought I made some real money, I got the first watch with some diamonds in it. This was $5 grand.
Wow.
Right? And I kept it because I want to be able to say, hey, man, this is when I thought I made it.